grime and dirt just does not show up in photos.
Yes! So I'm there for like a couple weeks, and my companion's like, начинается, which means like, it begins. Like, what? He's like, look out the window. And it's just snow, wind. You're not a kid anymore. You're out, you're doing the work of the Lord, and things get dicey. You think back and you're like, I can't believe I did that. That was really dumb.
Yeah.
Like, when I went into that, I went to that shanty town in the middle of the night, like, that was a really bad decision. You know, dressed in a suit. Like, what was I thinking?
All of the scriptural references used in this episode will be brought to you by scripturenotes.com. For a free trial to Scripture Notes, please visit the link in the description.
Because there are stories that you tell in sacrament meeting, and then there's stories that you don't tell in sacrament. You might write home to your dad, but you don't write it home to your mom.
Dude,
Right?
Actually, okay, there are so many stories that missionaries have that are like the stories, I don't know if you got the stories that you don't tell your parents, right?
Yes, right.
Because I don't know if you got the talk, but our mission president literally like gave us a talk on our first week in the mission. Because it is shocking when you get a lot of these from Sandy, Utah, always lived in clean neighborhoods, always had freshly prepared food. Like, they think dirty is like, I don't know, some part of downtown Salt Lake after a football game, right? And then all of a sudden they're stepping out of the remise in Argentina. There's a dead dog in the Zanja.
Yep,
everything's flooded. You know what I'm saying?
Dogs.
Like, and by the way, this is like clean on other South American standards, and they freak out. And so the mission president would pull people aside and be like, look, in this first letter, like, tell your trainees not to freak out their parents. You know?
If you overwhelm your mom with the first week, she's going to be like, where did I send my baby?
Oh my gosh, totally.
Can't let it all out.
So we all have those stories that, like, we don't tell our parents until years later.
And my dad told me this. He's like, son, don't tell your mom that. He's like, don't keep that from your mom. I know your mom. Just, you can tell me, but don't tell her. Don't tell her.
So what's yours? What's your story?
Well, I mean, there's plenty of them. Everybody's got some.
Hey, before you tell me yours, you have to tell me if this is true.
Okay.
As a returned missionary, true or not true? Grime and dirt just does not show up in photos.
Yes!
You know what I'm talking about?
Dude, yes! Oh my gosh, what is this? I wondered about this very thing. I come home and I'm like, oh, here's where I served. I pull up photos on Google and I'm like, this is where I served.
It never looks so bad. It never looks so bad in photos.
That's so funny.
I took pictures on couches where I'm like, dude, I need to check my clothing for bed bugs.
I need shots.
Took pictures. I took pictures like coming out of freaking hovels in ghettos where I was pretty sure hepatitis A, B, C, and D were just fogged in the air.
Everywhere.
Okay? And it was so grimy and so much debris. And when you take a picture,
no, it doesn't. I don't know why.
That eeriness of the grime never shows up. And it's sad because, like, in Argentina, like in Buenos Aires especially, there's nice and beautiful parts of town where they're waxing the sidewalks. And the baldosas or the tiles, and it's impeccably beautiful. It's almost like the Glendale Galleria or like, you know, the Warner Center or something, right? And then there's other parts of town only 20 blocks away where there is a grime so thick, it's worse than the most unkempt industrial kitchen that hasn't been you know, and you take a picture of that unkempt industrial kitchen and just the grime does not show.
No, it doesn't. I don't know why. I remember I said this exact same thing, and I'd be like, it looks all bright and colorful.
Yeah.
There's like color. There's no color in Siberia. It's all gray. The whole place
So
is brown and gray.
That sense of the dirt
Yes.
that you just sat in, or that you just ate
so
off
true.
of.
That's so
or
true.
Just like
Cups.
the particulates that you just drank.
So true.
Like, it's just.
Yes.
Oh, man.
I don't know why that is. I don't know. Because, like, maybe filters are some of it, but I don't know. There's something weird going on. So in Siberia, what happens is it freezes in, like, I remember I got there September. October, the freeze hits. And when I say the freeze hits, it means that, like, it never gets above freezing after, like, October, first week in October. So I'm there for, like, a couple weeks, and my companion's like, Начинается, which means, like, it begins. Like, what? And he's like, look out the window. And it's just snow, wind, out the window, dark. I'm like, what happened? He's like, it'll be like this for 8 months, 9 months. It'll be like this. It's like, what?
Whoa.
And it was. So what happens is,
Wait, what did he say again?
Начинается, which means, like, it begins.
Was he Russian or was?
No, he was American, but, you know.
Okay, but he
So what happens is, there's stray dogs everywhere. I don't think Americans
Yes.
realize there's stray dogs.
No.
This planet's covered in
And I have to know, if you fake you're picking up a rock, do they scatter?
Yes. Oh, yeah, because they know.
Okay, yeah. That's like one of the number one lessons that you learn in
Yes.
Argentina, too.
You just go.
When you're walking and the dogs start
They're like,
bothering you, you just fake
It's
that
true.
you're picking up a rock and then the stray
they
dogs
know.
scatter. That is so funny.
Dude, Siberia and Argentina couldn't be farther apart, and yet stray dogs ubiquitous.
They are everywhere.
everywhere. It's
Oh
so
my
weird.
gosh.
Neuter your pets, people. Neuter your pets. But so the dogs, so many of them. I don't know how they survive in Siberia, but they'd be cruising around and they poop everywhere, right?
Oh.
Well, then the frost hits, the freeze hits, and it freezes everything with a layer of snow. So then they go out the next day and they poop everywhere, and then a new layer of snow, and then they poop and a new layer of snow. So you have literally feet of ice and snow filled with stray dog crap, and people don't throw their trash away; they burn their trash. So they go out in the freezing cold and they light their trash on fire. Well, it doesn't burn real well because it's like 10 degrees below zero. And so it just kind of smolders and then it stays and then snow. So you have these layers of dog poop and half burnt trash piles filling the earth. And it's all frozen, so you don't smell anything for 9 months. But then it all melts and all the layers melt. So you have
just like the half-burnt plastics?
Yes. So you have 9 months worth of just filled. 9 months of it all melting at once. And the smell is just, it chokes you to death. And you're walking around, you're like an army of stray dogs just covered the place. It's just pockmarks of dog poop everywhere and trash piles. And you think, oh, this has just been accumulating, and then it all melts at once and lays it all out. Oh, it's so gross. Every summer.
Gosh.
Oh, so
And
gross.
people come at America for not being part of the Paris Accords. Like, I hear those stories. Have you ever seen the Riachuelo? The Riachuelo is a river that goes through Buenos Aires. And it's the border between Buenos Aires North Mission and Buenos Aires South. One of my wards was only 8 blocks wide.
Whoa, really?
8 blocks wide and like maybe 20 some odd blocks. No, sorry. 8 blocks thick and like 20 blocks wide. Yeah. Buenos Aires was the original mission where they dedicated the preaching of the gospel.
They got there early, right? Argentina
It was the teens, or maybe even the 20s. I think it was the teens. In fact, there's still the tree. Oh, actually, I heard that it just died or was taken down. But the original tree where Elder Ballard dedicated all of the land south of the United States of America for the preaching of the gospel.
Oh, it's in?
Is in Buenos
Argentina?
Aires North.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
it
know
was
why
in
it
my
died?
mission.
You know why it died?
Why?
Because
Elder Kieran.
Falkland Islands. That's what happened there.
It's
Argentina can't stand it.
Porque las islas son nuestras.
¿Por qué?
Las islas son nuestras.
¿Por qué?
By the way, when you watch Argentine propaganda on las Islas Malvinas, or on the Falkland Islands, as the rest of the world calls it, It's pretty crazy.
It's
like,
wild
yeah,
stuff.
it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Not as bad as Russian propaganda, but it is pretty wild.
No, Americans don't appreciate the cleanliness, the grime, the propaganda, the stray dogs.
Well, look up the Riachuelo. It's the river that is the border between the Buenos Aires North Mission and the Buenos Aires South Mission, right? So in one of my areas, I think it was La Boca, you could walk down past the Riachuelo, and the problem is it's one of the slowest moving rivers in the world.
Oh boy,
It's one of the slowest moving rivers, right?
that's not good.
And
Riachuelo, Argentina.
you cannot get within blocks without smelling it.
Oh my gosh.
That's it? Yeah, what does it say about the Riachuelo? What does it say?
Just the pictures just show heaps of garbage.
Oh, I can't even oh.
Oh my gosh.
It is
look
like-
at this. What? That's like the Ganges in India. 15,000 industries actively release pollution into the Riachuelo River Basin. 15,000, 60%.
It's like Argentina just gave up on the Riachuelo.
60% of the 20,000 people who reside near the river basin live in territory that has been deemed unsuitable for human habitation.
No, dude, you can't get within.
Oh my gosh.
No, the smell is so bad, and I don't even know what vapors are there, right? But
Oh,
yeah, dude.
that's rough. Well, there's not enough people in Siberia to pollute that bad. But the pollution, like, people don't get pollution. Like in Siberia, you leave your window open when you go out. You come back and there's a layer of just like grime and dust, like smoke, coal dust, just all over everything. Just a tiny little layer. You just go, and you can see just coal dust on everything.
This is exactly why I'm so big about American manufacturing. Like, everybody wants to make it political. Everybody wants to make it about national security and supply chain issues, about, jobs in Kentucky and economic arguments, which are important, or wants to make it about the X, Y, Z thing, right? But for me, the argument is so environmental. Like, when Rubbermaid tubs for Christmas trees are made in Maryland, like,
Right.
the PVC plastic goop isn't dumped into the groundwater cisterns.
Right. Way clean.
Like the
Way
worst
clean.
we have is like RFK going up and down the Hudson, like checking to see if the Ford factory's not dumping paint in the river, right?
You can't dump paint. I can't dump. If I took a teaspoon of paint and dumped it, they could come down on us like a hammer. Whereas over in Russia, they're just like.
And what I don't get is, like, why don't these other, and this is why, like, anti-American Americans that have never been out of the country bother me so much.
Yeah. It's kind of self-flagellation.
It's because I just look at them like, Russia could fix this, but their oligarchs are so busy self-aggrandizing and self-spoiling that they just let literally everything just rot that they know is rot.
Yes. They're happy to make your Rubbermaid tub.
Yeah,
You want
the
to make it over here?
Chinese oligarchs
Awesome.
could do this.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's all of them. America is the cleanest place, except for maybe Switzerland and Singapore. Okay.
Well, it's easy to be clean when you don't make as much.
No, but it's in our ethos. We actually care about the earth. And then so when you have these people that say, well, America should have joined the Paris Accords to show leadership. And no, show leadership? Have you been out of the country?
We need dog poop Paris Accords. We'll clean up our dog poop. If you clean up our missionaries are stepping in dog poop, you got to clip it with a dog poop Paris Climate Accords. Paris Dog Poop Accords.
Yeah.
Trump, make it happen.
Seriously.
Make missionary work great again. Make missionary shoes clean again.
Oh, jeez. So what's your story that we got to make a series out of this?
Jeez, there's
missionary
so many.
stories you wouldn't tell your mother,
Wouldn't tell
or that
your
you
mother.
wouldn't tell your parents. If we say that you wouldn't tell your mother, then the feminists will get angry, and they'll say that's sexist.
No, stop it.
You know?
No. Dads
But also
think it's cool. Dads are like,
Well, some people have mixed membership families and whatnot, And if their mother is a raging blue-haired feminist that doesn't care about them, and they have to confide in their poor, faithful father.
That's your exit.
Did we miss the exit?
Yeah.
That's God punishing me for my anti-feminist.
There it is. The feminist gods. Lilith is punishing you.
So,
but no, there's always stories that you don't, because they're just, you're not a kid anymore. You're out, you're doing the work of the Lord, and things get dicey. You think back and you're like, I can't believe I did that. That was really dumb.
Yeah.
Like when I went into that shanty town in the middle of the night, like that was a really bad decision. Dressed in a suit. Like what was I thinking? But you think back and like, I don't know why, but I did, and I was fine, I lived.
Do you think worldwide the bad actors in half of these ghettos have just gotten so used to the naivete of American Mormon missionaries that they're like, oh yeah, those idiots, yeah, they're always doing stupid stuff, don't worry about them.
They're like, hey, look at this guy, and you're like, yeah, they always do this, they don't know any better, leave them alone, they don't get it. Well, so one example of this, I served in a city called Barnaul, and Barnaul is in Siberia, southern Siberia, and there were sisters when I came to my mission, there were a bunch of missionaries, and then over the course of the 2 years, it shrank almost in half. The number of missionaries shrank, right?
Jeez, why?
Something about the birth rate was low. We just had fewer youth going. It was kind of at the trough. They raised the bar. I wish we could get back to that. But anyway, so they were.
What a bit of propaganda that was. I'm sorry.
I wish it would have been real.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
No, but I was like offended. When they announced it, they're like, okay, well, we're going to be raising the bar and changing how missionary work is done. Now we're going to be teaching with the Spirit. And it's like, what do you think I've been doing this whole time?
I know.
And they acted like they were sending out troglodytes.
Have I not been
just
teaching with the Spirit?
Knuckle-dragging pornographers who just could not stop from sinning and had done zero spiritual preparation. That was such a piece of Utah garbage. I'm sorry. But California does not have a problem sending out droves of missionaries because they want to get a car from daddy or they want to fit in their junior college. That was not an issue here.
Sometimes you wonder, like, what are they seeing? I don't know. Anyways, but so I'm in a very pretty dicey mission. We're living in squalor. You're living in squalor, right? But there was a really nice apartment that the sisters were in. Okay. In the city, we had like 4 companionships in the whole city. One of them was sister missionaries, wonderful sister missionaries. And they were in this really nice apartment. Well, when they finally left, because of the atrophy, some missionaries came and they said, hey, could we go into the sister's apartment? Because our apartment's terrible. We could live in their apartment. They have a really nice apartment. And we've never seen the sister's apartment, right?
Let me guess, it's amazing compared to yours, right?
And so I was the ZL, and I'm like, I guess we could go check it out. And so we go check it out. It was immaculate. It was gorgeous. We're like, oh my gosh, the sisters have been here the whole time. Are you kidding? And so, like, well, yeah, of course we got to get on this. And so we let the elders in. Now these 2 elders, Elder Taylor and Elder Elmas, I don't think they'd mind me telling the story.
His name was Elvis?
Elmas.
Oh, Elmas.
And I was always on these missionaries because during their studies, they would be working out. I mean, working out. They would be pumping iron all morning. And they were buff. They were large, yoked dudes. And I'd be like, elders, what are you doing all day? And they're like, oh, we're just doing our studies. We wake up and we start working. And they would. They'd be reading the scriptures, just pumping. They'd be eating breakfast, just pumping iron, And they were torn dudes. They were buff dudes, right?
Okay.
And I was like, geez. And they weren't tall either. So they looked especially buff, So they go to this new apartment, and the apartment has this weird, like, padias, there's a stairwell you walk up to, okay? So they go in this area, and they're there for like 3 days. They barely get there. And I get a call in the middle of the night, the call you don't want to get. Here's what happens. The first day that they're there, all these regata, which are like the gang, like the patsani, they're like in the squat, smoking the cigarette with the shliapka, and they're the troublemaking young men, right?
Okay, like the hooligani and
the hooligani, yeah.
Okay, cool.
They're there and they're like, who are these guys? Second day, they're like, these guys live here. Third day, they follow them up to their door. And Taylor and Elvis are like, we got to get out of here. So they're like running up the steps. They're like, hey, get back here. Hey, what are you doing? Hey, no. And they start chasing after them. They get to the door. And as I was told the story, you have 2 doors. You have the big metal door, and then you have your apartment door. Big, like iron, like it's made of steel door. Security door. So they get to it. They get one door open. And then the guys catch up with them, and they start fighting. And you're not supposed to fight back. You're not supposed to touch them. You're not supposed to anything. So they're just trying to get in the door. But they pull them away. So Taylor gets in the door. Or no. Sorry. Elvis gets in the door. And Taylor's left outside. And so he's like, what do I do? My comp. And so he turns back around. And he's like, I want to close the door, but I want to get my comp. And they're like beating up. And they're just like pummeling the guy. And so...
get your comp,
bro. His comp is like, all right, it's the work of God. So he starts swinging at these guys. And Russians aren't particularly, these guys were not big guys. They were scrawny little, he goes out and starts just laying out these patsani, just like, boom, takes the guy down. Boom, takes the guy down. Just starts handing out naps. He's just handing out naps to these guys. So, dropping them. Until his comp gets up, and they're almost in, until one guy pulls a knife. And they're like, oh, whoa, okay, never mind. And so they kind of put their hands, and they get the crap kicked out of them. Taylor, who was handing out naps, gets his skull fractured, his cheekbone broken, right? He has to go home to America to get reconstructive surgery on his skull, and then return to his mission and finish it like a boss. Freaking legend.
Wait, so when a guy pulled out a knife, they just took
They were like, whoa, they're like, so they kind of like, okay, never. And then the dudes got up and they all just took turns beating the crap out of him. Because they're like not gonna, but they didn't stab him.
Oh, that is so sad.
Yeah. So we did not keep that apartment. Decided not to keep that apartment. So it turns out the sisters were in the diciest place in town, but no one would mess with them because they were women. Because there's this code. Yeah, you might hate Americans, you might be drunk, you might whatever, but hey, you don't mess with the women. Like, come on, what are you doing?
We don't even have that level here.
Yeah. He was like, you don't touch them because they're women. And so the sisters would walk by these same guys every day, and they'd be like, and never mess with them at all. But as soon as there were dudes, there, they're like, what are you? Let's get them. And they jumped them.
Jeez.
Isn't that crazy? But Taylor came back, finished his mission like a freaking boss, with a scar on his face from his surgery. Legend.
Does he still have it?
I bet.
Elder Taylor.
Yeah.
Picture it didn't happen. Actually,
Dude,
I believe it happened, but
no, dude.
That's like a dueling scar.
Well, I thought he had to do
That's like a dueling scar, dude.
From his
That's
mission.
That's bragging rights.
But like of all the companions, if it had happened to me, I'd have gotten the snot kicked out of me. But these guys, they were kachoki. They were just working out all day. They were so.
But what's it like to just subject yourself to a beating because you don't want the mission closed?
Well, I did. I got
what?
I got beaten. I couldn't fight back. It's a weird feeling because your hands won't move. Every muscle is tense, but you can't fight back because it's not. You can't fight back.
No, we got to change that rule. I'm sorry. that like
give everybody a rapier, just in case.
Oh, dude,
an emergency rapier.
I was robbed at gunpoint, and I just remember the guy was high enough that we could get away.
Oh, jeez.
But in my missionaries had been killed. You know what I'm saying? In Buenos Aires is where you had like missionaries executed, where you had missionaries. One was run over by, I think it was a train accident or something.
Gosh.
Yeah, it was. There was unfortunately there'd been like 4 deaths in 10 years of American missionaries. It was brutal, dude.
They don't put that on the letter.
Yeah, they don't put that in the letter.
You've been called to serve in a place. Tell your mom, don't worry, there hasn't been a murder in a year.
And I was serving when the war in Iraq started.
Oh, yeah.
So capitalist country goes to war in the Middle East, and Argentines are just coming up and yelling in your face.
Screaming in your face.
What was the American slang term? Did they call you a junkie? They would call us a Yankee.
Yankee. Yeah, Yankee.
Yeah, they call us a Yankee de miércoles. Except
Yeah.
they didn't say miércoles.
They're always talking about Bush.
Yeah, exactly.
Bush.
Andate a Bush.
Yeah.
A tu papi Bush.
Yeah.
You know, you're just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're always talking about Bush.
So, fortunately, my my accent was so good and my language was so good, they thought I was a German immigrant,
right.
not an American immigrant.
A Nazi.
And so
you played off like a Nazi. You'd make a good Nazi.
I would tell them I'm Polish. I would literally just say I'm Polish, right?
So not a Nazi.
Yeah, there was this one missionary.
Oh, that's it. Right
Here. Oh yeah, baby.
Presidential drive.
Boom. There was this one missionary who would throw his comps under the bus. He was Canadian, so when people would come up and they'd be like, "Hey, all you Americans go home," he'd be like, No, I'm not American. I'm Canadian. And they'd be like, Oh, you're Canadian? He'd be like, "Oh, but he's American."
Like, dude, shut up. What are you?
It was so bad. So they would call you Yankee.
Yankee,
too, huh?
Yankee, or
would get called
sectanti, which means like a cult. Sectanti.
Oh, sectanti.
They'd always say, Yankee, go home.
Yeah,
They all knew how to say, go home. Or, how is your name? Yankee, how is your name? They'd all laugh. Yeah, I said, how is your name?
Would the little kids come up to you and run up to you and be like, "Hola, hola, 1, 2, 3,
Yes,
4.
right.
They'd
count.
counting at you.
They'd say, how is you? How is your name? They practice their English.
Man.
And you'd speak to them right back in fluent Russian. You'd say, "Oh, меня зовут старейшина Parental, and they'd be like, I don't understand. Yeah, they speak Russian. Like, I'm speaking Russian. They're like, I don't speak English. I can't understand. I'm speaking Russian. No, I don't speak English. I'm speaking to you in Russian right now.
It's a maybe you weren't so fluent, dog. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
what were
you'd be
you
like,
saying though? I was like, what did? Oh yeah, I was serving when the war in Iraq started in the Middle East.
Yep, I remember that.
So, dude,
So was I. Yeah.
they just, oh my gosh, they would just come up and scream point blank in your face.
Yeah, right.
And when I was robbed at gunpoint, my guy was high enough that we could just get away. And we could I just pushed it down, and my comp gave him his watch. It was a cheap $5 watch, you know. I just remembered with every fiber of my being, I just wanted to grab this guy's arm and break it over my knee, and then just beat him with his own pistol.
Right.
And it was like everything I could not do to just not end that dude.
Yeah, but you can't do it.
And it's like, oh, that is the worst part of serving in an anti-American, everything you are area, is the patience you have to exercise to not just thump some wannabe thug that you could utterly just eat for breakfast.
Oh, I got another story about that. Gunpoint. All the guns in Russia are held by the militia, like the militia, the police.
Yeah.
There's no guns. They don't allow any guns.
Okay.
So there's no gun violent crime except for the police who commit it all the time, and no one cares.
Really?
They do it with their badge on, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's not crime." Like, no, that's crime. Just because it wears a badge doesn't mean it's crime. Good times. Good times. It's a good story. Don't tell your mom.
How many times were you robbed?
Petty robbery. I don't know, 3 or 4. I have a big robbery story though that you don't ever tell your mom. It's a good one.